Hare Krishna. In our last Thursday's talk, we were discussing the navigation which you all can do during your adolescence. This phase of your life, which is very crucial as far as what course the journey of your life will take. If you remember, we discussed that in one's childhood, one identifies so much with one's parents, the family. As an adult, creates one's own identity, is one independent. But this is the time wherein you are kind of in between this adolescence time. You still have dependency on your parents as far as financial and other aspects of your life. You are yet not financially independent. You are not that young also that you are just a kid anymore. You are not a kid anymore. Many of you have your mustaches still and your beards, already growing. So you are in between. And then you want to belong yourself to, something concrete, something substantial. So you try to connect yourself with the social media or to a group, maybe in your college. And you identify, you prove yourself, your identity. We are living in an age wherein identity proofs are so much valued. Whatever you want to accomplish, even if you want to buy a ticket, you want to go somewhere, you have to prove your identity that you exist legally. Physically, yes. But are you legally existing on paper in this country? So, now, if we take that same discussion further, you have, come to the Hare Krishna or the Krishna consciousness fold. If I may ask you, is it your choice? Or is it someone else's choice that you are here? What would you say? Is it your choice that you are here? Now there is one way of getting connected with spirituality that is called culturally. You get connected to any spiritual path because of cultural reasons. When I say cultural reason, I mean to say, if in your family, if your family is very religious kind of family, some families, they are very religious. Every particular festival or, there is so much of importance at home they give to the religious aspect of living. And I guess most of the Hindu families, they have that religious bent somehow or the other, it comes down in tradition. So that's called the cultural heritage which you are born with, which you live with, and somehow or the other subconsciously you carry that cultural heritage wherever you go. Now you must have observed that if someone is coming from a cultural religious family and coming to Nasik, living in a hostel here for the college, and if the family, they would be worshipping Hanumanji, or tomorrow is Mahashivratri, Shivji, whoever. Then you will find that within the locker in the hostel room, there will be at least one picture of Hanumanji or that Kuladevata, that Ishtadevata, some picture. Or even if you don't have that picture, if you sometimes you may be regularly visiting some Hanuman temple close by, or some Shiva temple close by, or some Krishna temple close by, depending on that cultural connection. So, I have seen that in student life, students, they come for Hare Krishna programs because of these two reasons. One is the cultural reason. That, oh, in my family, so much of religion was being followed, and here there is something in the name of religion which is going on. So let me also reconnect with something culturally spiritual. Remember this term, culturally spiritual. So that is one category. Some of you might be in that category. But then there is another category which is called intellectually spiritual. Culturally spiritual, intellectually spiritual. Now, intellectually spiritual, these category of people, they may not necessarily be coming from a very religious families. Maybe they might be very doubtful kind of people, always having doubts about the existence of God and doubting about spirituality, about religion, rituals and all that. So they want to connect to something spiritual based on something which is intellectual. It's like, arranged marriage and love marriage. So arranged marriage is arranged by the parents. So whatever they arrange, and some or the other, typical, very strict arranged marriage setup, the parents, they have the courtesy to ask the child, the boy or the girl, that this is what we have chosen for you, so be ready. But love marriage is something, comes in the category of intellectually connecting to spirituality. I want to explore, I want to find out, I want to get in love, I want to get into this affair and check out. मेरे बलबूते पे मैं अपने लाइफ पार्टनर को चूज करूंगा. That's called love marriage, and that's considered to be more a big accomplishment for the person. Now, my question is that which is better, culturally spiritual or intellectually being spiritual? Which is better? Okay, how many of you, raise your hands, the first one, culturally spiritual, how many of you are of the opinion that that is better? Raise your hands. Okay. Which means the others are of the opinion that intellectually getting connected is better. How many of you are of that opinion? Raise your hands now, the second one. Okay. So, okay, why do you say you said the first one? Why?
It is more easy to connect culturally, because when we try to connect intellectually, because our intellectual is limited. So we may get bewildered. Sometimes we find the answer, sometimes we may not. So there is a risk that we lose interest in it.
Okay. Okay. Accepted. Okay, now from the other side, the second option. Yeah. What's the reason?
Intellectually spiritual, because in religious manners we follow directly the things, but we don't know the reason behind.
The reason behind. So being intellectually spiritual means you know the reason. When you know the reason, which means you know your life partner. You very well know your life partner, that what you are walking into. It's not walking into dark. Okay. Both of these, you have something? Acha, you're both. He's playing safe. He doesn't want to take the risk. Both. Yeah, in one sense, both, are required also. The culture is also required and the intellectual is also required, which basically means that, okay, you are coming from a religious family and that the cultural heritage which you are carrying along with you. But like our friend said, that if you are not intellectually convinced, it might remain simply ritualistic. And you may do it, but as soon as someone challenges you intellectually and starts asking you intellectual questions about whatever you are following and you are unable to answer, then those doubts and those challenges might create doubt in your mind. Like in my recent visit to the UK, one family, they have a 11-year-old daughter, and the daughter was asking me this question, that Prabhuji, in our school, because being in the UK, all these friends of mine, they are all Britishers mostly, and they all are meat eaters, non-vegetarians. And I'm the only one vegetarian from South Indian Brahmin family, and that too Krishna conscious family now, ISKCON family, not even onion and garlic. So they make fun of me. My friends, they make fun of me. And they say, what is this, you are a vegetarian? यहाँ पर जैसे बोलते हैं, यहाँ पर भी मजाक उड़ाते होंगे, क्या घास फूस खाने वाला है तू, कुछ मर्दों वाला खाना खा. So she was asking me this question that, in fact over there mostly they are all beef eaters in these Western countries. Means meat also, the staple meat which they have is beef, which means cow's meat. So I asked her that if they are teasing you, making fun of you, and specifically asking about why you don't eat meat and you should be eating meat and all that. So maybe you can also shoot back a question to them, that why only beef? Why do you eat only beef? Meat is meat, just like we have so many vegetables, In India, we eat, aloo also, brinjal also, tomatoes also, palak also, so many. So why you stick to only specific meats? Chamdi to chamdi hai na? Huh? Flesh is flesh. So she was a little confused. What do you mean? Ask them, how about dog's meat? Why only cow's meat? How about dog's meat? Why specifically I asked her to ask about dog's meat? Because there in those countries, dogs are worshipped. Literally, dogs are worshipped just like we worship cows. In our Hindu tradition, we worship cows. Over there, they literally worship dogs. Anything you speak against dog, what to speak of doing anything against dog, is a crime. Is a cardinal sin. You cannot. In fact, I don't know, any of these Hollywood movies, these Western movies, even if they are to the lowest extent of showing the most barbaric and grotesque and gory things in their movies, very seldom they will show a dog being slaughtered. In any of those action movies, or so much of bloodshed and everything. But very seldom, hardly ever, even if any animal is being, even if a dog they have to show, they will just show it, after it's being killed. What's the logic? Hmm? Just one of my class friends, she was very much in depression because her German Shepherd died. She was in depression. So she called that, you are a monk and you are into counseling and relieving depression of people. I'm in depression. So a Bengali, so I asked her, well, every day practically you are killing fishes and eating fishes and so all these kinds of meat. Why you never went on depression for them? Why depression only for a dog? Why not depression for the fishes? रोज तुम जो वो पूरा फ्राई करके मछली अलग अलग प्रकार से पॉम्परेट क्या पता नहीं क्या क्या खाते हो. Why not go in depression about them? Why discriminate? If you follow the logic of being a flesh eater, why discriminate? Any kind of flesh should be okay. Oh, no, that we cannot. This country, you can never. So, again, there is no proper reasoning and logic. So, the point I am making is that when you have the intellectual backing, then that intellectual backing should also have a cultural lifestyle. So both are important. You cannot isolate just one and think that just based on one aspect I'll be lifelong connected. Because simply being convinced and not living that convinced life is of no use. Like, if I say, मैं एक देशभक्त हूं, I'm a patriot of this country. Yes, I'm a patriot. And then if somebody asks me, so then what are you doing for the country? अरे जनगण मन गाता हूं मैं रोज. Yeah, somebody might religiously, stand in attention when the Janagana Mana goes on. That's good thing. But realistically, what am I doing for this country? That will be also questioned. And the other extreme is someone says, I do so much for my country, except I will never stand for Janagana Mana. बीच में शुरू हुआ था ना कि ये बोलना भारत माता की जय, ये बोलना जरूरी है कि नहीं? क्या ये बोलने से आप देशभक्त बनते हो? ऐसा डिबेट हुआ था ना. भारत माता की जय बोलने से ही आप देशभक्त बनते हो, और जो भारत माता नहीं बोलता, क्या वो आतंकवादी है? क्या वो देशद्रोही है? तो इसका बैलेंस क्या है? जैसे कि यदि कोई ये क्वेश्चन पूछे कि एक लड़का और लड़की वो प्यार में है, तो शादी करना जरूरी है क्या? Boy and girl are in love. Why marriage is compulsory? We see so many marriages, but there is no love. So many marriages, but there is no love. And here is a couple, they are madly in love with each other, and then they are asking this question that the essence of togetherness for a boy and a girl is that love, and we already have that, so why do we need to get married? The argument appears to be logical. What is your take? What do you say on this? If two people are madly in love, is there a need for them to get married? To what?
To give the proper conclusion.
And what is the conclusion of marriage? Love.
But they can make their make a life ahead together.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll accept this particular point. Yeah?
To make that relationship legal.
To make that relationship legal, which means दूसरों को दिखाने के लिए, है ना? दूसरों को दिखाने के लिए हो गई ना वो तो शादी, लेकिन प्यार तो हम एक दूसरे से करते हैं. दुनिया को दिखाना क्या जब प्यार हमारा दीवाना है. Okay. Anyone else? To what?
To enjoy marriage day.
To enjoy the marriage day. You know, there was this one joke that you will know who your real friends are in your most crisis situation if they are all around you. Then definitely you have some trustworthy friends. And when will you find them the most all around you? On your marriage day. एल्बम में देखो, फोटो में सब लोग एकदम क्लोजली खड़े हुए हैं. Because for some people it is the most crisis filled day when the man loses the bachelor's degree and the wife gets the master's. You see, if somebody says definitely the essence of marriage or any relationship is that selfless love for each other. There is no point in simply having the ritual of coming together and having no love after that. But then the question is, if somebody asks me this, that we both are in love, why do we need to get married? So I would ask the question, why won't you? If you both love each other, then if marriage is something which will enhance your love, and you don't do that, which means there is some conditions you are applying in that love. That we will love each other madly only if we are not married. Which means, if somehow or the other you are married, then that love will be compromised. Which means that the love is not deep enough. That love is conditional. Okay? So, you want to say something?
I want to say that for every relationship, that is the loving relationship, we must have a regulation there. Like by the loving relationship can further go in deeper when there is marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Completely we cannot enjoy selfless love in independence or simply
So there should be discipline, there should be some regulation. Even if there is mad love, that mad love should be disciplined mad love. Good point. That we will madly love, but with proper timings and, with a proper formula, like that. Good, good. So now coming back to Bharat Mata Ki Jai. So if I say that I am a patriot of this country, I will sacrifice my life for this country. शहीद हो सकता हूं मैं, लेकिन भारत माता की जय नहीं बोलूंगा. और दूसरा एक्सट्रीम है कि मैं देश के लिए केवल भारत माता की जय बोलूंगा, बाकी मुझसे कुछ मत पूछना। तो आजकल मीडिया क्या करती है, एक्सट्रीम्स को पकड़ती है कि यदि जिस भारत के लिए तुम अपना जीवन बलिदान कर सकते हो, तो उस भारत माता की जय बोलने में कतराना क्यों, है कि नहीं? सो द रियल, व्हाट इज द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ भगवद गीता? द बैलेंस of the extremes always. So herein we are talking of the balance of culturally spiritual and intellectually spiritual. To strike a balance between the two. Now, why it's so important, the balance of these two, especially at your age? This is the age when we have a psyche within us. We have a psyche, which means the subtle body of ours, the psychology which we talk of, the human psychology. So the human psyche is very much vulnerable at this age. Vulnerable means that it is like wet cement, you know. अभी तक उसको शेप नहीं मिला है, और धीरे धीरे वो जो सीमेंट सूखते जा रहा है उसको शेप मिलते जा रहा। You won't believe, I was speaking with one of my very close colleagues, and he just recently gave a seminar in Ohio State University in America, and he was saying that he gave a seminar on how to have a mental diet, just like you have for your body, you maintain a diet for good health. So what is the diet for the mind? So he was speaking about how nowadays so many teenagers are having suicidal tendencies. And after his talk, one of the students from that university, Ohio, came up to him and said, actually, just before coming to this seminar of yours, I was on my way to commit suicide. And I thought, मरने से पहले सुन लेते हैं ये क्या बोल रहा है, अच्छे ख्याल में मरेंगे. So this is a true story. And this student confessed that after hearing your talk, now I have realized that it was not me who was about to commit suicide, it was my crazy mind which was making me do that. Do you know every year how many people die out of suicide? 1 million. Now that is more than people in that year dying because of terrorist attacks or accidents or wars put together. 1 million. And this is the human society. We have discussed many times that the animal society, you will never find that they are having suicidal tendencies and they are fed up with their life, so depressed, bored, कि मुझे जीने की कुछ इच्छा नहीं है. कोई सुइसाइड नोट लिख के कुत्ते मर नहीं रहे. We humans. So especially at this age, you know, our subconscious, we have the conscious mind and we have the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is that mind which makes us do things spontaneously. Just like if you know how to drive, initially your conscious mind has to fill in the subconscious everything about driving, all the different aspects about driving. So somebody who is learning driving, so his subconscious is not programmed yet. So he has to practice, and then once he's practiced, then while driving he can do so many other things also. He can talk on phone. सबसे पहले तो वो करते हैं, एक हाथ से स्टाइल में ड्राइविंग करेंगे, दूसरे हाथ से और कुछ करते रहेंगे. Then he can, talk to someone, he can eat something, he can watch, and automatically, the feet are going to the clutch, to the brake, to the accelerator when it's supposed to go. You are not consciously thinking about that, but subconsciously, your subconscious mind you have programmed. So you see, this is something which is very effective, especially we human beings we have. This is, if I may use the word which you can understand nowadays, it's called the default settings. You use your computer, you use your smartphones, there is something called default setting. So default setting is something which will help you use that machine in a very convenient way. So if you have programmed your laptop, your keyboard, or of your cell phone, the keyboard has been programmed in a certain way, then whenever you type something, the default setting will help you. Imagine if every time you are using your laptop and every time every single move, action, the laptop is, the machine is asking you. It will be so annoying. So having the default setting eases usage of that machine. Similarly, within this human body, we are blessed with the default settings. Now, you know your mother tongue. Apart from your mother tongue, you know so many other languages also. Your mother tongue, if your mother tongue is Marathi, you also know Hindi, you also know English, you may also know maybe some other language. Imagine every morning you get up and you completely forget all the languages. Imagine, it's a nightmare imagination. Every morning you have to learn how to speak. Every morning you have to learn how to walk. Chalna hi nahi aata hai. Which means, the night you go to sleep, all your default settings get erased. You are formatted again. It will be an impossible life to live. My dear friends, what I am trying to tell you is, with your conscious mind, when you program your subconscious mind eases your living. Now it's up to you what you program with your conscious mind, your subconscious. The decisions which you make with your conscious mind at this age of yours will keep filling the files and the folders and the programs in your subconscious mind, and then no matter what you encounter, when it comes to habits, they are not formed overnight. There is not even a single habit in this existence or anyone's life which has been formed overnight. Like we say in the seminar, power of habits, just the word habit, it's a very sticky word. You remove the H, a bit remains. The spelling of habit, you remove the H, a bit remains. You remove the A, bit remains. You remove the B, still it remains. It's a very sticky word. That's what habits are also. Addictive. Addiction. What is addiction? Again, this addiction is something which is human speciality. Animals, you will find animals a bit addicted. You will find a fish caught in a bait. When the fisherman throws the bait, the fish gets caught. Or a mouse in a mouse trap, cheese rakh do ya fir koi puri rakh do, mouse gets trapped in that mouse trap. You may call, is that addiction? No. that's not technically called addiction, because the fish and the mouse, they don't know it's a trap. But a human being, and for them it looks like food, but for a human being, a cigarette in no way, shape or form looks like a food. Plus on top of that, the human being knows what are the consequences of this cigarette, of liquor, knows the consequences. Everything, in fact, he has been told, he knows, he goes through the problems, he goes through the consequences, undergoes the experiences, traumatic experiences of being addicted. But why keeps doing it again and again and again? Because the subconscious has been programmed to do it. Like people who use foul language. So many you will have these kind of people in your college also, using foul language. They are so addicted to that, using foul language, because they have programmed their subconscious that when they are at home, those kind of swear words, they have to actually really control themselves so that those words do not come out, but still it comes out sometimes. So when you are talking of people who are addicted, there was this one American who was addicted to alcohol so much. And he was so much addicted, one night, in the middle of the night, he woke up around 2:33. And the kind of alcohol which he would drink every day, it was not there in his home bar, in his refrigerator or in his home bar, it was not there. So night 3 o'clock, he wanted that so desperately. So he set out night 3 o'clock to find it. So he found that it was the middle of the winter. It was like sub-zero temperature outside, almost snowing. So he finds his car broke down. Car is not functional. So he walks 3 miles to that liquor shop, which is one liquor shop which is open the closest to his house at night 3 o'clock. And he finds the liquor shop is open, but that particular liquor is not there, which he wants, which he is addicted to. Then he goes further, 3 miles for another. Imagine, just for fulfilling that addiction. He finally finds that particular liquor, which means he has walked already 6 miles, now he has to come back 6 miles. He's walking, he is already having his things, he's enjoying, and he trips and the entire bottle falls. And all the liquor from that bottle falls on him, and he's in the middle of the street, in the middle of the night, in this cold winter, sub-zero temperature in America, he's lying down with all the liquor over him. And then he thinks, he questions himself, what the hell am I doing with my life? Is this what I want I should be as an example for others? And it dawned upon him, there's something called epiphany. It dawned upon him to give up that addiction. So how much people, they are addicted to something and later on they realize, oh my God, I have been programmed. Now, if I may ask you, now this might sound a little harsh. Would you want to live a life as a slave? Gulami ka jeevan, slavery. Appears to be, these words appears to be very strong and harsh, heavy words. Gulami ka jeevan, गुलाम, किसी का गुलाम बनना चाहते हो? कोई नहीं. किसी का ambition है, कोई पूछे क्या बनोगे बड़ा होगे, गुलाम. नो, गुलामी करना चाहूंगा, गुलाम नहीं बनूंगा किसी का. सो दिस अमेरिकन, he said, actually I am a slave, I am living a life of slave just for what? This alcohol, this liquid which is fermented and decomposed, decayed, it's toxic. I have become a slave to this. Especially amongst teenagers, another addiction is pornography. And that is something which for liquor and cigarette and people have to at least go to some shop and get it and all that. Nowadays this pornography is freely available. And because it is so freely available, everyone thinks that, is this really addiction? But then the same teenagers who slowly get addicted to that, they realize that they have reached a point of no return. You know, have you heard of this? There is a point of no return. Just like cigarette smokers. Smokers, they start with the first puff, second, like that, and then they reach a point of almost no return. And especially, you know, some of these cigarette companies, there was this one person who was working in a cigarette company, and he confessed after he left the job, he confessed that most of these cigarette companies, you know who their target is? The teenagers in colleges. They are the targets. And how they target? Because every smoker has a brand. चाहे वो पनामा, चारमीनार या 555, विल्स, जो भी उसका ब्रांड होता है, गोल्ड फ्लेक है उसका ब्रांड होता है, वो ब्रांड से एडिक्ट होता है पर्टिकुलर, वही पीता है वो. एक बार उसको वो एडिक्शन उस पर्टिकुलर ब्रांड का लग गया, सो ही इज वेरी लॉयल टू दैट ब्रांड. हाँ, लाइक एक पत्नी व्रत होता है ना, वैसे ही इज वेरी लॉयल टू दैट ब्रांड ऑफ सिगरेट. सो मेनी ऑफ दी सिगरेट कंपनीज, दे कॉलेज के आसपास जो पान टपरी की दुकानें जहां पे सिगरेट्स मिलती है, वहां पे वो लोग उनको पैसे देके कि यही ब्रांड रखो. बिकॉज इफ दे वांट द कॉलेज स्टूडेंट्स टू गेट एडिक्टेड टू देयर ब्रांड, in some of these universities abroad, they distribute it for free to college students, free mein initially, until they are hooked, just like fishes who are caught in the bait. Like, you know, two owners of a cigarette company. So they were expressing their shock. So one owner of the cigarette company, he saw not a teenager, but a 9-year-old boy smoking. And he was shocked, as they say, shell-shocked. A 9-year-old smoking, and he's looking and he's expressing his shock and he's saying, "Oh my God, a 9-year-old is smoking? This is utterly shocking." But what was his shock? He's smoking and it's not our brand. The shock was not कि 9 साल का कैसे धूम्रपान कर रहा है. अरे 9 साल का धूम्रपान कर रहा है और हमारा ब्रांड नहीं है उसके हाथ में. This is the shock. So my dear friends, don't think that when you choose a certain company, if you think that if I belong to this company in the college association, then that association will be very innocent. any choices which you make at this time of your life is feeding your subconscious. And slowly it's making, you may think that you are becoming an engineer, the college is making you an engineer. Yes, the college might make you an engineer externally, but internally, the choices which you make when you come to the college, all those choices, making into your subconscious, programming your personality from within, that will what you will be, even if you become an engineer or doctor or whatever. And when you get into a family yourself, when you get married, later on, in that particular relationships which you will be having, your engineering degree, your being skilled or educated, whatever, is not going to be so much helping you when it comes to dealing with relationship issues. What you have programmed in your subconscious, that is going to help you out. So, in essence, what we are discussing tonight is that last week I was talking about, there is something called, you have freedom for doing so many things. I am free to smoke, I am free to drink, I am free to watch anything. But there is something higher than freedom for, and there is something called freedom from. Freedom from is higher than being in the category of freedom for. Because when you have the control, when you have the courage to say no to something which is tempting, you are coming in the category of being free from these vices, from these addictions. So, when you actually want to be having the control and navigation of your own life, just like, how you feel when you have the remote of a machine in your hand. What kind of feeling you have? Oh yes, pressing of some buttons, and see, I know how to navigate the TV. What's called surfing. I know how to surf, how to navigate this machine, just using the controls. Just like somebody who is very good at piano, he knows how to navigate the keyboard. Somebody who is very good at typing, he knows how to navigate the keyboard of the typewriter or of the laptop. So there is a sense of accomplishment when you know how to navigate something. So you see people, they are very skilled at navigating a laptop, a keyboard or a piano. But seldom you will find people who know how to navigate their own mind. Recently I was in my talks abroad, I was talking of this term called mindful living. Have you heard of this? Mindful living. Mindful living means that what are you doing with your mind, with your senses, with your existence at this moment? Most of the time, we are either regretting about our past or worrying about our future. Just like there is something called conscious or mindful eating. What is conscious eating? Conscious eating means, there is a very special combination when we eat anything between the tongue and the stomach. And it's kind of a tussle which goes on. And who wins most of the times? The tongue wins. So when you have like a full plate in front of you of food, your tongue navigates your hand. ये टेस्टी है, इसको ही उठा ज्यादा, है ना? Subconsciously, your hand picks up the tastiest amongst all the other items. इसको और मांग, ये ज्यादा खा, ये पूरा जल्दी खत्म कर, हाँ? उधर खत्म होने से पहले और भर ले प्लेट में, है ना? अंदर की बात बता रहे हैं अभी. And the tongue, as soon as something which is so tasteful touches the taste buds and the taste buds activate and all the taste buds, now we have millions of taste buds on this 2-inch tongue. So all the taste buds, something which is very tasty, which you really love, and yeah, that feeling, when you get, when they touch your taste buds, all the taste buds are like jumping in ecstasy and they are shouting with their hands raised, one more, one more, one more, one more morsel, एक और गुलाब जामुन डाल. अरे एक से क्या होता है, एक से मेरा क्या होगा, एक और डाल. सो वन मोर गुलाब जामुन. हाँ, दूसरे में ज्यादा आनंद है, अब तीसरे में और भी आएगा, तीसरा भी उठा. नहीं है तीसरा प्लेट में, नहीं है तो मांग. उस सर्वर को बुला, यहां पर डिमांड कर, चोरी कर, बेग, बोरो, स्टील, सम और द अदर, get the third one. The taste buds on your tongue, they are kind of having a union. यूनियन फॉर्म किया उन्होंने, और यूनियन फॉर्म करके वो चिल्ला चिल्ला के बोल रहे हैं, कहीं से भी फतवा दिया, फतवा लेकर आओ एक और गुलाब जामुन. And then you have more, second, third serves, more and more quantity. और बेचारा पेट अंदर उसका कैपेसिटी इतना ही है. वो क्या है, गोदाम है, छोटा सा गोदाम है, उसका कैपेसिटी, पेट बेचारा अंदर से चिल्ला, अरे बस हो गया, अरे बस, ऑलरेडी गोदाम फुल है, गोदाम फुल है. तो ये टंग और स्टमक का कॉम्बिनेशन क्या है कि ये जो स्टमक है ये वेयर हाउस है. इट्स लाइक अ वेयर हाउस. एंड टंग इज लाइक द ऑक्ट्रॉय नाका. हाँ, यहां से जो भी पास होगा यहां से पास होगा, जो मेरे को अच्छा लगेगा ये ऑक्ट्रॉय जकात नाका, ये यहां से पास करूंगा. और अगर मान लो कि ऑक्ट्रॉय नाके पे कोई है ही नहीं, माल जा ही रहा है, जा ही रहा है, जा ही रहा है, बिना किसी रोक के, एक के बाद एक मालवाहक गाड़ियां जा रही है, जा रही. फिर ये बेचारा पेट जो है ये अंदर से चिल्ला रहा है, इसकी आवाज कोई जकात नाका पे सुन ही नहीं रहा है. ये पेट फटा जा रहा है, फिर होता क्या है, फिर तोंद आती है बाहर. वो करता है क्या, बोला अब मैं अपना वेयर हाउस बढ़ाता हूं. फिर यहां ऊपर से तो कोई रोकथाम आ नहीं रही है, तो मैं अपना वेयर हाउस बढ़ाता हूं. तो देन यू फाइंड, एंड देन आफ्टर माय गॉड हैविंग लाइक डबल ट्रिपल, देन फाइनली यू रियलाइज, ओह माय, मतलब अभी इतना खा लिया कि वो डकार भी नहीं आ रही है. उसके लिए भी थोड़ी जगह चाहिए ना, हवा तो चाहिए आने के लिए. इट्स लाइक choco block, complete choco block inside. So, conscious eating means when somebody is eating, you stop in between to feel your belly, whether your belly really needs one more morsel or not. That's called conscious eating. Becoming conscious of what you are eating. Similarly, there is something called conscious living. I did this experiment in Birmingham University this time. I asked that how many of you in your last week you focused on your breathing. Focused means you actually were feeling your breath, incoming and outgoing breath. You actually felt it. No one had done that. If I ask you, maybe somebody who is doing yoga or pranayam, what is yoga and pranayam? Over there, you have to consciously focus on your incoming, outgoing breath. It's living. We are living because of this breath. In fact, the other day, there was a pop-up on my phone about an app. Someone was advertising an app, and this was an app that it helps you focus on your breathing. So there was a man who is running around, and then That app, gives an alert that you sit down, focus on your breathing right now. You're too stressed out. So he sits down and he opens that app, and that app somehow reminds that you have to fill your lungs with oxygen. And he focuses on that breathing. Something so simple as this breathing, how much do we focus on that? Forget about any other aspect of living. So mindful and conscious living means what you are doing with your existence, with your senses, with your mind right now. Because what you do with your mind, with your senses right now will make the future of your next moment. What your next moment will be is dependent on the moment right now. I don't know whether you had this poem in your childhood. Very interesting poem. This is one poem, if you follow these 3-4 lines of this poem, in fact, forget about very hardcore spirituality, you can have even a very peaceful living as you are trying to do your conscious, mindful living. The time to be happy is now. That's how the first line of the poem, in our childhood we had this poem. The time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. And the way to be happy is to make someone happy and to make a little heaven right here. I'll repeat again. The time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. And the way to be happy is to make someone happy and to make little heaven right here. Simple lines, but profound meaning. Many times the most simple things in our life are missed out. I'll end with this incident which happened again in my travels. So there was a friend of mine who was having problems with his smartphone. His smartphone was getting hanged. And he was not even able to make a simple phone call. So I asked him, I said, just give your phone. He unlocked and gave his phone, and I saw that there were 10 apps open on his phone. Simultaneously, parallelly 10 apps were open. So I closed, just swiped out all the unnecessary apps, and his phone was working well. There was no problem with his device. Why it was getting hanged? Because he had kept more than 10 apps open at a time. Life is like this. Our life is like this smartphone, and first of all we keep downloading so many apps which we never use. How many times it happens? Just to show, कोई अगर मेरा फोन हाथ में लेके देखेगा, अरे बाप रे, इतने apps. So life also becomes like that, just to show others कि कितने apps है मेरे पास. What it does, the more apps you download, the more storage space it will take, the more battery it will use. And then when you keep opening and सब खोल के बैठे हैं, फिर जो बेसिक काम है उस फोन का वही नहीं हो पाता है, टू मेक अ कॉल, जिसके लिए फोन खरीदा था ओरिजिनली. सो जिसके लिए हमको ये जीवन मिला है वो जीवन हैंग हो जाता है. क्यों? क्योंकि हमने आर्टिफिशियली इतने एप्स डाउनलोड कर लिए हैं हमारे एक्सटर्नली, और खोल खोल के वो एप्स को, और फिर हमारा लाइफ वी आर लिविंग अ हैंग्ड लाइफ. So the take home message is, if you just want that the default setting of your life should function properly, we all have been born with the default settings, which means the default setting to love God, to know God, and to surrender to God. That's the default setting. But what happens? The default setting hangs when we keep downloading unnecessary apps as we keep on living, and that becomes our unconscious living, and conscious and mindful living means to discard, uninstall, delete all these unnecessary apps and focus on the default setting which I just said. That is the goal of this human form of life. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. So you'll remember the poem? The time to be happy is now, the place to be happy is here, and the way to be happy is to make someone happy and to create a little heaven right here. Yes.